You're here. Caught me. Looking at the phone, just chirping away. We're live, maybe. If not, we're a pretty good facsimile. Everybody knows what a facsimile is? They're old. You know, wait a minute. Look. Got your earpieces in. Now we're live. Woo. We weren't live before. I was out and about, and then this thing goes derp, 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 derp. So I had to look at that. Hello, peoples. Me, another person. What's going on? I changed my camera angle. I was trying to keep it from apparently doing what it's still doing. And that's that. Try to focus, try to focus, try to focus, try to focus. So I put an arm and extension on it. Beep, 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 and it's still doing it. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll have a real camera. I bought this thing. Don't know where my camera's at. And what I thought I could do is suction cup it to the counter because it's like a countertop. It's I thought relatively smooth. And either that's a bad suction cup or not nearly as smooth as what I thought. So it lasts for a couple of minutes. I had the camera on it, you know, like this, and it would tip over. But still yet, even as tall as it is, you were looking at my nose, so it wasn't very pretty. So then I put the arm up there. Huh, I don't have my face light on. I'm just behind the times, people. I'm so flustered. I'm just so happy to have HillBillyisms. Yep. There's no spray, there's no cure, no antibodies for it. You got them, you got them. Deal with it. Not going dim. There's that light. What? Come on. Why are you breaking down now for? Oh. That's because it was already dim. See, colloquialism. That's what we're talking about. Hello, Ryan. Maybe one day you'll be as good as me. That's true. You're right. You gotta have goals, right? Colloquialisms. I'm gonna call them hillbillyisms because that's kind of what we are around here. Or I'll throw my hat in that ring. But a phrase. Let's turn a phrase. Even to say turn a phrase is like a colloquialism, maybe, right? So, man, I could read you the definition for colloquialism, but I can't spell the stupid word, so I'm not going to try to read the definition to the word. Oh, by the way, where are we at? I'll make a lot of funny faces because I'm squinting. Squinting Tarantino. Oh my gosh. These things just come to me. They just come to me, people. There it is. Telephone. Phone lines are active. Operators are standing by. Sunday. Monster truck wrestling match. Get your tickets. So I asked people to send me some. Announcer's voice kills me. My Santa's list. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas. And some people sent me some on Facebook. There's Clell. Hello, operator. As a side note, talking to Craig at work, and it popped into my head. Andy Griffith, the TV show back in the day, always had the operator, right? Craig knew her name. I don't know her name. Anyway, it almost came to me. Pick up the phone, clink, 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 clink. Sarah? Was it Sarah? Except he held his like this. Sarah, get me Mount Pilot. What happens when she was off? You couldn't use the phone after 5 o'clock. What about during her lunch break? Right? Yeah, Sarah. Was it Sarah? Okay. What did you do? What good with the telephone is after 5 o'clock you couldn't use it anymore? Right? Of course, it was Mayberry. Ain't nothing happened. If you needed somebody, just run down to Andy's house and got him up out of bed. But it just dawned on me. You know, did they have 24 hours? Did they have 3 shifts? Did it just ring at her house and she wake up in the middle of the night and go, what do you want? Mount Pilot? Well, hell, ain't nobody up at Mount Pilot. Go back to bed. That's for a different story, maybe a different topic, a different show. Phone lines are open. Nobody's called. Okay. So let's see. Facebook. Let's get to some that I hope that I can get back up on the screen. So sometimes, let's see. All right. So Debbie wrote in, and she's from a different country, New York City, Ireland. Same thing. No. Anyway, she sent me some in. And some of these I'd heard. Borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. All right. So Ryan says after 5 o'clock, Quentin Tarantino ran the phones. That's right. He'd come to your house and beat you up if you woke him up at 2 a.m. So borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. That's a biblical reference. Wish I knew the story, but Peter and Paul, I think we're brothers. I always heard it as robbing from Peter to pay Paul. So there's a couple of these I looked up the meaning, but I think the meaning of that one is, you're taking from one area, one brother, and giving it to another brother, which is just killing the whole family. And you're not helping anybody by just shuffling that money around. So she said her mom used to say that. Now, I've never heard this one. This may be Irish, may be New Yorkish. I don't know. She didn't say. But anyway, you'll be on the pig's back. So, and then she makes a little comment, and it's a good place to be. So, I mean, you could probably make a lot of references. You're on a pig's back. Maybe you're just happy you have a pig to be on its back, right? That could mean you're doing okay. So, and the third one that she sent me, hopefully she said she couldn't watch because, it was more important for her to sleep or something like that. Anyway, so I told her, I said, send me some. The show will be out there. You can just watch it. And that's one of the reasons I'm starting with hers first, so that, she can watch it, and then when she gets bored with the rest of the show, she can just stop watching. But anyway, I haven't heard this one. Bob's your uncle. I have no frame of reference for that. Bob's your uncle. Maybe her mom was telling her the truth. Maybe Bob was her uncle, and she just thought it was one of those cute little sayings. Quaint little saying. I have to practice my Irish accent. Maybe one day I get to go there, and then I can practice it, and then they can beat me up, and I can get better at it. Which one have you heard before, Ron? The Bob's your uncle? Oh, there's Robert, which is another name for Bob. Bob? Robert? Are you my uncle? But, Ron, did you say you'd heard that one? The Bob's your uncle? We'll wait for him to reply. So those are the ones that she had sent. You have, Ryan, you have any idea why Bob is your uncle and what it might mean, what it's reference to? So a lot of these things, you can pick up kind of on, what they mean. Sometimes they're just a funny way of saying something very obvious. Sometimes they have historical references. And I guess, first started using them, they were probably pretty regional because, one that I've always heard, and a lot of people have, and they've gone around, is, you're buying a pig and a poke. You shouldn't buy a pig and a poke. You don't know what the pig looks like. Could be a little poke, big poke. So it's like buying a pig and a poke. You don't know what you're getting. Don't do it because you might be disappointed. That kind of stuff. But, was that regional? What about places that didn't really, deal in the swine? Maybe they didn't mind to have pigs in a poke because it's ugly to look at. Then it comes to another one. Putting lipstick on a pig. Maybe that's what you'd get if you bought a pig in a poke. You'd open it up. So Ron says, it's hard to explain. You use it like you do this, then that, then Bob's your uncle. You do this, then that, then Bob's your uncle. Okay, so Bob's your uncle is something that you aspire to be or have. So you do A, you do B, and then bam, Bob's your uncle. Like you got it made. Got it made in the shade. Kind of like Bob's your uncle. I get that. Okay. That makes a little more sense. Kind of like saying voila, voily. There you go. Bob's your uncle. So we learned something. And Craig says voily because he thinks it's fine. But, all right. Pig and a poke, lipstick on a pig. So I do a lot of lipstick on a pig at work. So I tell a lot of people what I do at work is camouflage. So mainly in wall repair because I stink at drywall. And if you want to do good drywall, you got to have good camouflage. And to me, good camouflage is you use a roller to put the paint on so that the texture kind of hides the lines. If you use brushes, the brush strokes just to me highlight your mistakes. But putting lipstick on a pig is like using a roller to cover up your sheetrock. Terrible work. But I do it too in automobiles. I like to buy old cars and stuff like that. And the first thing you want to do, you get an old car, it's got rust on it, it's got patina, wash it. Wash it. There's a thing called a Comet wash, and I've tried it, and it worked really good on this old Jeep truck I had. But you use the green pad or the red pad, those Scotch-Brite pads. You use lots of water, and you use Comet. All right? So it kind of sands and blends and knocks down the heavy rust and knocks off loose paint. But anyway, when it's done, it dries flat color. It's not shiny, of course, because you just scratched the P-far out of it. P-far. That's one. Anyway, so that's like putting lipstick on a pig. You wash it, you clean the windows, you wax the tires, tops and bottom, and you make it look good, better, and you'd be surprised. Vacuum it, clean the windows inside and out, everything like that, arm roll it. Treat it like you would like a new car, and the next thing you know, you got lipstick on a pig, and it looks pretty good. Pucker up, kiss a little sow girl. So, those were Debbie's. Now, Robert, I'm not sure if he's talking about this as a colloquialism or hillbillyism, or the state of his intestinal fortitude for the last couple of days. But he says, as loose as a goose. Now, take that a step further, and like rice on a paper plate with a snowstorm. I think you're making these up now, Robert. Bob's my uncle. Anyway, loose as a goose, you know, like, what is it? It's quick. So there's a terminology for quick, like, you're as quick as shit through a goose. So, you ever heard that? He's as rich as 10 foot up a bull's patootie. I have never heard that one. Never. So, like rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm. So maybe that Robert's rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm is the same thing as scarce as hen's teeth. So you try to find your hen's teeth, that's like trying to find rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm. Same kind of deal, maybe. That's where I'm going to go with that. So, more than one way to skin a cat, right? You know, the most interesting job in the world is a cat skinner, because there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You never get bored. Now, no cats were harmed in the saying or the production of this show, I guarantee it. Because all my cats are outside, and I never heard a cat. It's a cool kid. So, one of the things I wanted to do, kind of real quick, everything's not real quick, is some historical phrases, colloquialisms, things like that. Now, these are all, I'm sure, ones that you've heard, but I didn't really, really put anything to them, like I don't a lot of things. You hear these things and you kind of put it together, what it means to you, you know. So here's another little side note. This just came to my mind. Believe it or not, I know it's hard to tell, but to look at me, I have retired from one career already. I know it's hard to believe, but anyway, I was retired for like 3 days. Anyway, so one of the things I thought was I went on Indeed. I was going to try to find a job. And one of the jobs that you could do was instructing Chinese children in colloquialisms over the internet. Right? I had no idea. I had to look up what the colloquialism was. And that's when I found out what it was. It's just phrases. And to me, that's what, like I said before, turning a phrase. That's just kind of phrases that you've heard and then you've said and you've repeated all your life, those kind of things. Never knew they were called colloquialisms. And I guess that comes from, in, colloquial times, the way people were said. But it made me think, we put it together and it means something to us. You say this in China to somebody that you're dealing with on the telephone or in, however you might be, it might mean something totally different for you. So I guess in this job, they were trying to bring Chinese children a piece of America or American learning what it meant in slang, maybe. Uh, what these crazy Americans might be talking about. You know, you hit it out of the park with that one, Bob, my uncle. You know, what does that mean to a Chinese person? Who knows? But anyway, I thought that was interesting, and that's the first time I'd ever heard them called colloquialism. So here's one. This is off the History Channel, history.com, and it's called The Third Degree. Now, anybody that's ever watched a Hawaii Five-0 or a detective show, and they're going to give somebody the third degree, you know what that means, right? So let's see what it means potentially from history.com. There are several tales about the origin of the third degree, a saying commonly used for long, arduous interrogations. One theory argues the phrase relates to the various degrees of murder in the criminal code. Yet another credits it to Thomas F. Burns, B-Y-R-N-E-S, just so you'll know, a 19th century New York City policeman who used the pun third degree Burns, B-Y-R-N-E-S, like his name. That was the pun part. When describing his hard-nosed questioning styles. In truth, the saying is most likely derived from the Freemasons, a centuries-old fraternal organization whose members undergo a rigorous questioning and examination before becoming third-degree members or Master Masons. So, that makes a lot of sense. Because, you know, the Freemasons have been around a long time. They're, well, used to be, I guess, somewhat of a secret society, and they still are. Nobody knows a lot about what goes on in their meetings and things like that. So, I know it's a lot of memorization, rules, saying, you know, chants. I mean, I don't know, you know, poems. Who knows? I don't know exactly what they do and what they have to memorize. I'm sure it's history, lineages, how things are, you know, set up, a lot of rules about, you know, how to organize and do things, that kind of stuff. So anyway, the third degree, that was one. Let's see if there's another one. Running amok, that's kind of, read them the right act. So Robert says, give me some skin. Now, you know, back in the day, you laid some skin on somebody. It's kind of like a sliding high five, right? So, laying skin used to be like, give me some money. Lay some skin on me. Give me some of them fatbacks and dollars. Could be in a couple of things. Rule of thumb. That's one I've heard. That might be interesting to look up. Remind me later if I got time, we'll look that up. So, let's see what the paint the town red means. The phrase paint the town red mostly likely, oh, yo, likey, long time. Most likely owes its origin to one legendary night of drunkenness. In 1837, the Marquis of Waterford, a known lush and mischief maker, led a group of friends on a night of drinking through the English town of Melton Mowbray. The bender culminated in vandalism at Waterford, and his fellow revelers knocked over flower pots, pulled knockers off the doors, and broke the windows of some of the town's buildings. To top it all off, the mob literally painted the toll gate, the doors of several homes, and a swan statue with red paint. The Marquis and his pranksters later compensated Melton for the damages, but their drunken escapade is likely the reason that paint the town red became shorthand for a wild night out. Still yet another theory suggests the phrase was actually born out of the brothers of American West, actually born out of the brothels of the American West, and referred to men behaving as though their whole town were a red light district. I like the old English version better. I mean, you know, back in the Wild West, did they have red lights? They didn't have cars. Why in the devil would you need a red light? Horses won't run into each other. Use some common sense, man. Come on. Red lights in the Old West. I know, Robert. How do they pull their knockers off the door? I don't know. Sounds very unlikely. So, back to my Santa list. Wait a minute. See, y'all distract me here. I think you're going to cause me to forget. Let me read up these fantastic Facebook. If I can only find it. Now look at me. I've lost it, people. I've lost my mind. I've lost my ever-loving mind. Nope, that's not it. Wow, where did that come from? Let's get rid of that. Oh, oh, wait. Oh, is that it? Here. Minutes ago. Oh, nope, that wasn't it. How about loose stuff, man? That was 3 days ago. Somebody send me the link to my own stuff, would you? Here we go. Back at it. Okay. Robert says, crooked as a dog's hind leg. All right. Yep, that's fairly common. Jen said, fine as a frog's hair. Now see, this is one of those things you scratch it. Frogs have hair. Andrew said, busier than a cat covering poop on a tin roof. Yep, that'd be tough. Ryan, you're handier than a pocket on a shirt. Those are the ones that were sent to me in Facebook. Now Robert says, older than the hills. Yep, heard those. So let's see on some of the other ones. I'm going to put them on, people. And I'm going to put them down here so you can still see my pretty blue eyes. Yeah, you can. All right. We talked about scarce as hen's teeth. Fine as frog hair. You can split that 3 ways, okay? Now, a guy that I used to work with told me one, I saw him today at I call everything convenience stores or 7-Elevens. I don't know why. Or a Servview Mart. So anyway, I saw him at 7-Eleven. He said his dad always said, stomp a mowed hole in your buttocks and walk it dry. Never heard that. Never have heard that. Somebody else at work said they'd heard that though. Lipstick on a pig. Cold as a witch's booby in a brass bra. That's pretty cold. Don't look the gift horse in the mouth. That's one. Clayle says, Goglin is crooked. Huh. Is Goglin an English word? American word? I'd love to know where Goglin comes from. Let's look that up there with a hyphen. Okay. Define. Well, now let's see that one says it's not, doesn't have a hyphen in it. Let's look at it the way you get it. Oh, World says it doesn't have a hyphen. Okay. Goglin. Not built correctly, crooked, skewed, out of balance. Huh. You got it right. Yep, that's what it says. Appalachian word. I got it. Yeah. See, we did, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Taking a poke. Don't poke a bear with a short stick. Now, that might be just good advice. It might not be a hillbillyism. Yeah, I think that's just good advice. Let lying dogs lie. That kind of goes back something about poking bears with a stick. Now, I don't know. This is relatively new. It might not be very old, but I've always heard you can't run with the big dogs. You stay on the porch. Nervous as a whore in church. Shut your pie hole. That might just be good advice. When somebody tells you that, you best be listening. Pooping in tall cotton. If you lay down with a dog, you get the fleas. Now, I mean, you know, that makes sense. Yeah, Ryan says gully washer. Step up to the plate, belly up to the bar. Step up to the plate, belly up to the bar. Yeah. What was that last one I said? You lay down the dogs, you get fleas. So, yeah, you run with trouble, you get trouble. Violence begets violence. Live by the sword, die by the sword. That kind of stuff. Now, my mom always said this, and I think she said it because we were all at, what time is it? What time is it, Mom? What time is it? And then she come up with this one. Well, it's time for all dogs to be dead. Aren't you glad you're a pup? And that would make us be quiet for a little while and think, what's that crazy woman talking about? My granny said this one, and this was about time too. It'll be done in 2 shakes of a dead sheep's tail. Well, Granny, dead sheep can't wag its tail. Yeah, get out of the kitchen, boy. Or my mom likes to say, we're as fast as a herd of turtles. Yep, make your own bed, sleep in it, or sleep in it. Now, my wife has always said, she said this one, she said in the meeting, and people fell out laughing. As serious as a heart attack. Why they would fall out laughing, I don't know, but it's true. Let's duck on a June bug. That goes along this next one kind of goes along with what Robert said, white on rice. That kid was stuck to his mom like white on rice. I think my wife wrote this one down wrong, seems like. Bread on butter? Huh. She said her grandmother used to say, as ugly as a fried egg in a mud hole. And then another one was, he's so cheap he squeaks when he walks. You ever heard that one? I mean, I guess some of those you can just write them down, go on forever. Like I said, it had a little Christmas list, those kind of things, just what I was thinking. But it's kind of interesting to see where these things come from. I mean, you could probably trace them back years and years. But what I always find funny is that you can say these things, and there's been so many people that have heard them. I mean, you know. Here's one I know you've heard. Resting on your laurels. So let's see what the history.com says about this one. The idea of resting on your laurels dates back to leaders and athletic stars of ancient Greece. In Hellenic times, laurel leaves were closely tied to Apollo, the god of music and prophecy and poetry. Apollo was usually depicted with a crown of laurel leaves, and the plant eventually became the symbol of status and achievement. Victorious athletes at the ancient Python games received wreaths made of laurel branches, and the Romans later adopted the practice and presented wreaths to generals who won important battles. Greeks and Romans, or laurelettes, were thus able to rest on the laurels by basking in the glory of past achievements. Only later did the phrase take on a negative connotation, and since the 1800s it has been used for those who are overly satisfied with past triumphs. So I always thought resting on your laurels meant you were lazy. I had no idea that it was referencing past accomplishments or any of that kind of stuff. So I just thought that resting on your laurels was your butt, and so you just like to sit around and do nothing. Apparently Clell likes to say hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. You ever had a hair in a biscuit? Here's my thought on hair in a biscuit. I've never known anybody to get sick from a hair. All right? It's not like you find wet bodily fluids in a biscuit. Right? Hair is just a hair. Pull it out, throw it away, eat that biscuit. Those biscuits are good. Let her rip tater chip. Yep. I think the only time I'd ever heard that was from Gas Monkey Garage. And that Richard Rollins dude used to say that. I've never heard grind up your loins. Maybe that was from your Chippendale days, where you heard that one from. All right, we've been on here 38 minutes. We've had 3 or 4 people in here. That was good. Let's see. Here's one. Let me read this one, and I'm calling it a night. The only reason is because I've heard this, and I've actually seen it, I think, in some cartoons. Crocodile tears. Oh, cry me a river. Anyway, crocodile tears. Modern English speakers use the phrase crocodile tears to describe a display of superficial or false sorrow, but the saying actually derives from a medieval belief that crocodiles shed tears of sadness while they killed and consumed their prey. Why would they ever think that? The myth dates back as far as the 14th century and comes from a book called The Travels of Sir John Mandeville. Wildly popular upon its release, the book recounts a brave knight's adventures during his supposed travels through Asia. Among its many fabrications, the book includes a description of crocodiles that notes, "These serpents slay men and eat them weeping, and they have no tongue." While anyway, let me put my glasses on. While factually inaccurate, Mandeville's account of weeping reptiles later found its way into the works of Shakespeare, and crocodile tears became an idiom as early as the 16th century. So I think I've heard the crocodile tears thing in that first connotation, that first way. False sorrow, superficial, false sorrow, you know, like that would make more sense because I don't think a crocodile would ever cry about, killing its prey and eating supper for breakfast and lunch and all that stuff. So if it was crying, it was false crying. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Yep, Brian, come hell or high water, or the Lord willing and the creeks don't rise. Yep, I've heard those. See, it's kind of funny you've heard, most everybody's heard a lot. But anyway, so I appreciate everybody coming, hanging out, throwing their hat into the ring. Share it, like it, get back on there when it comes up as a saved video. Put a comment in, help the algorithms out. And until the next show, probably Thursday night at 9, I will see you all somewhere, maybe. Bye, everybody. Say bye-bye, dancing phalanges.